Hey guys, and welcome to a new video build guide for Path of Exile. This build guide contains build showcase, content overview, disclaimer, build theory, playstyle, equipment, gems, jewels, flasks, skill tree, Ascendancy, Pantheon, Bandits, honorable mentions, and some gameplay footage. This build is a great all-rounder, viable for all content, has a really good clear speed, kills bosses within seconds, is pretty tanky and scales exceptionally well in the endgame. Let's make the Elementalist great again. If you got any build related questions, feel free to ask them on DirtyDot thread on the official Path of Exile forum, in the comment section of this video, or on the new mbX Discord. Links are given in the description below. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to not miss any new builds. I also started to livestream on a regular basis on Twitch. I really enjoy hanging out with the community, so if you're up to, feel free to follow me on Twitch to get notified when I'm live again. Thanks for your support. Without further ado, lean back, relax, and let's get started. The renewed Elementalist Ascendancy offers a good synergy with the Blade Vortex skill and the Heralds. The Pendulum of Destruction gives a very visible and welcome area of effect boost or elemental damage boost when you need it. The build uses all three elements via damage conversion and extra elemental damage: cold with the Hrimsara gloves, lightning with the physical to lightning support, fire with Herald of Ash and the added fire damage support, plus whatever extra elements you get from the shaped weapons. So when using the Mastermind of Discord Ascendancy with all three Heralds, you get 25% elemental penetration on everything. With the Shape of Desolation, all your hits, not just critical ones, apply elemental ailments. The Beacon of Ruin makes your elemental ailments stronger and spreads them to all nearby enemies. On top of that, the build is fairly beefy. Over 200% increased life can get you up to 7k HP if you invest into it. With Mind Over Matter you can get up to 8k effective health pool. The damage is great, so you kill most everything before they even get to hit you. Herald of Ice shatters almost everything, so you leave no bodies for that nasty Detonate That or the pesky Porcupines. This build is very agile with Whirling Blades as a movement skill, so threats are easy to dodge. Fortify linked to Whirling Blades adds another layer of defense. Lots of cold damage means that things get chilled and frozen all the time. Note that Leech is mandatory for this build, do not omit Wallet's Mark Curse. The playstyle itself is pretty straightforward. Keep up your Blade Vortex, whirl into enemy packs to start off the huge AoE chain reaction with the intense Impulsar explosions combined with triple Heralds, use Flasks to boost your damage and survivability, keep up Fortify for damage mitigation, and burst down tough bosses casting Orb of Storms to activate Arcane Surge and use Vault Blade Vortex. Reroll Elemental Reflect maps and handle tough maps as followed. On Hexproof, use Barracks Grip Ring. On Norwegian maps, bring a Mana Flask. And on a Can't Leech map, you need a heavy Flask work, but consider rerolling. Aim to have at least 70 life on every rare piece of gear. Do not overlook mana regeneration and flat mana mods. Always make sure your elemental resistances are capped. Impulsar's Broken Heart is the best in slot armor for this build. It boosts both single target damage via the increased shock effectiveness and increased damage mods, and the area of effect via the shocked enemies you kill explode mod. Until you obtain Impulsars, use any rare or unique armor, preferably with life and resistances. Hrimsara gloves are an important part of the build to get a 50% cold conversion. Very common and cheap item. The faded version, Hrim Burn, is only marginally better. Don't chase it, but upgrade if the opportunity arises. Sadly, there is no powerful up enchant we can take into account, although if you want to power up your gloves, look for a nice corruption or double corruption with useful stats like global critical strike chance. Starconia's Head offers lots of life, critical hit chance, attack speed, and very importantly up to 70 dexterity, and this build is deck starved. You can also use any rare helmet with life and resistances. The best helmet lab enchantment is 30% increased Blade Vortex duration. Use a rare dagger in your main hand. Stats to look for: critical chance for spells, this one is a priority, spell damage, elemental damage, crit multiplier, damage added to spells, gain percentage of physical damage as any elemental damage, and or elemental resists penetration. If you're specifically interested in clear speed mapping, you can use Brightbeak plus shield combination once you obtain Impulsar's armor. We will either dual wield two daggers or use a dagger and a scepter. Shield is also an option if you prefer to use shield charge as a movement skill. It is faster and arguably better for mapping where you don't need to maximize your damage output. Use any rare shield with spell crit chance or Ash's Mirror. Try to get your hands on a nice pair of rare boots containing life, resistances and movement speed. If you're looking for an lab enchant, use 16% increased attack and cast speed if you've killed recently for mapping, or damage penetrates 10% of enemy elemental resistances if you haven't killed recently for endgame bosses. Stygian Vice is the best belt base, so we can socket a nice Abyss Jewel into it. For the belt itself, look for life and resistances. Use a rare amulet with life, crit multiplier and whatever else you can get like critical hit chance and resistances. If you're rich, then look for a shaped amulet with the game percentage of physical damage as extra elemental damage mod on top of the above. Yoke of Suffering is a good and cheap damage option, but unfortunately it doesn't have any life on it. On rings, look for life and resistances. Cast speed, mana regen and flood mana is a bonus. Warlord's Mark Curse Ring for leech and extra tankiness coming from endurance charges. Note that the Warlord's Mark Ring is recommended but not necessary. If you can't get one, you will need to obtain Warlord's Mark Curse from gems. Warlord's Mark Elder Ring can be paired with Mark of the Shaper Ring for a solid damage increase. In our body armor we will socket Vile Blade Vortex, Hypothermia support, Control Destruction support and Physical to Lightning support as our base 4 link, Increased Critical Strike support as our 5th link, and either Efficiency, Power Charge on Critical, Increased Critical Damage or Concentrated Effect support as our 6th link. Use added fire damage support instead of Hypothermia support if you haven't got Beacon of Ruin Ascendancy node yet. The 6th slot is situational. Use Concentrated Effect support on tough bosses and the support of your choice for mapping. Even Increased Area of Effect support is on the table. Our first falling setup will be Whirling Blades, Faster Attack support, Fortify support and Culling Strike support. If you're using a shield, replace Whirling Blades with Shield Charge if you like it better. If using Mind over Matter, replace Culling Strike support with Blood Magic support. Our second falling setup will contain Immortal Core level 14, Warlord's Mark level 14, Increased Duration support and Cast when damage taken support level 12. This setup serves two purposes. It triggers Immortal Core to prevent all physical damage for the duration and also casts a Warlord's Mark curse. The latter is required in single target situations like bosses where the curse cannot be applied by your heralds. You don't want to keep your cast when damage taken support too low level, as you don't want your endurance charges to be consumed every time someone looks at you. Level 12 appears to be a good balance, although you may keep it lower early on. Our third falling setup will contain Herald of Thunder, Curse on Hit support, Warlord's Mark and Blind support. This Herald setup doesn't reserve any extra mana and reliably curses enemies around you while XPing. The fourth link is going to be Blind, our chance to evade jumps to over 50% against blinded enemies. One of our 3-link setups will contain Orb of Storms, Arcane Surge support and Power Charge on Critical support. This is the Give Me More Juice button. Arcane Surge gives more damage, extra cast speed to spin up the blades faster and some mana regen on top of that. And you also get Power Charges when it crits. Keep Arcane Surge low level so it gets triggered by every single cast of Orb of Storms. Our second 3-link setup will be Herald of Ice, Herald of Ash and Lightning Golem. Lightning Golem is the best for this build. Allows us to move faster with Whirling Blades or Shield Charge as well as to spin up our Vortex Blades. If you have the Warlord's Mark Curse on Hit Ring, you can remove Warlord's Mark Gems, opening up a few slots. Here are a few possible ideas on open sockets. Add Frostbomb to your cast when damage taken setup. It adds 25% cold penetration when triggered and we deal quite a bit of cold damage. It also greatly reduces enemies' life regen, which is useful against high regen targets. Add your Golem to your cast when damage taken setup to have it automatically resummoned. Link your Heralds to Enlighten support to free up a bit more mana for Mind over Matter. Add Blind to Orb of Storm setup. Add Flame Dash as an extra movement skill for your labyrinth runs, or rough terrain when you need to jump, which you cannot do with Whirling Blades or Shield Charge. You can also use Blood Rage if you can sustain it. For Jewels and Abyss Jewels, look for Life, Crit Chance, Crit Multiplier, Flat Damage mods and resistances or stats you might need. Your everyday flask setup contains a Divine Life Flask if you go for an instant heal mod, otherwise use an Eternal Life Flask, a Diamond Flask for increased critical strike chance, and situational, a Sulfur, Silver or Stibnite Flask to add another layer of damage or survivability. Your Magic Flask should contain the following suffixes: of Staunching for bleed immunity, of Warding for curse immunity, and of Heat for freeze and chill immunity. In terms of unique flask, use a Taste of Fate for an extra damage boost, and a Series Promise for additional damage and some leech, and the Wise Oak Flask for both damage and survivability. Try to balance your Wise Oak Flask to get the full functionality out of it. That means that you have to balance your uncapped resistances to be equal. To reach that, you may have to change some of your items, but it's definitely worth it. A detailed skill tree plan, leveling advices and gear choices while leveling are listed in DirtyDot thread on official Path of Exile forum. Links are given in the description below. As our Ascendancy points, we're gonna take Pendulum of Destruction switches between 75% increased area of effect and 75% increased elemental damage every 5 seconds. Mastermind of Discord for elemental penetration, increased effect and reduced mana reservation of our heralds. Shape of Desolation to override the usual role of an ailment. For instance, at the buff duration of Chilling Conflux, all our combined damage will chill, even if it's fire, lightning, chaos or physical damage. And Beacon of Ruin to spread our elemental ailments to nearby enemies. It also applies at least 20% shock to any enemy including endgame bosses, effectively providing 20% plus more damage bonus. As our Pantheon powers, we're gonna choose Soul of the Brine King as our Major God for stun immunity, and Soul of Grutkul as our Minor God for physical damage reduction. Always make sure to upgrade your Pantheon powers for stronger defensive passives. We are going to help the Bandit Lord Alira for mana regeneration, global critical strike multiplier and some elemental resistances. A special thanks to DirtyDot for writing the guide and providing me with the footage for our project. If you want to see more gameplay footage of this build in action, check out his channel. Links are given in the description below. Thanks for watching my video. I would greatly appreciate your support with a simple like on this video, your thoughts and feelings about the content itself in a comment. On top of that, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see more videos from me in the future. It is totally free, so become a part of our great community. Take care and have a wonderful day.
Run along. Not go unpunished.
Damn you!
This is your final warning. Leave or end. You force my hand again, little mouse. So you've chosen to side with chaos. This is my world, and you shall obey my order. Insignificant.
He's injured, but not for long. We need to get back. Father, it's me. Let me help you.
The horror must be stopped. Obstacles destroyed!
To me, Exile, quickly!
I cannot lose them.
They lied to you, Father. I'm your true memory.
To save the future, the past must be sacrificed.
To me, Exile, quickly!